Hello, guys, and welcome. My name is Dr. Peter, and today we're going to be discussing the worst mistakes and experiences in medical school. It's a rather sensitive topic, and frankly, it took me quite some time to decide if or not to go ahead with this story. But as Isaac Newton famously quoted, on the shoulders of giants we see further. And in this case, we're going to be standing on not just the shoulders, but the pain and the tears of a lot of people. And I really give credit to those who have so bravely shared such a private aspect of their lives with us. See, anybody who thinks medical school is not hard has not gone to medical school. And when the problems start arising, they are not usually just academics. They don't usually stem from our academics in particular. Sometimes there are those other factors, those other things that surround our academics that now be a very strong representation in our academics. From having problems or elsewhere, it is easy to see them reflect in academics. And so those are the kind of things we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share 5 of these stories with us, and I'm going to be drawing heavily from my yet to be published book, Medical School Mistakes. Over the years, I've made friends from across medical schools around the country who are now colleagues, and I usually ask them, I'm curious to know, what is your worst experience in medical school? And then when they began to share with me, I began to see how unique these experiences were to individuals, and the patterns also began to reoccur, and we're going to be sharing some of them in episodes. If you are new to this channel, you can hit the subscribe button so that you can get new content in medical lifestyle, and then content in academics, OSCEs and traditionals and things like that. Okay, so first off, John. As I said, I'm going to be these are real people, and I'm going to be changing their name just for anonymity and to maintain some level of propriety, but these are real people. So first off, John. Now, John was admitted to study medicine in the prestigious University of Ibadan. He was 17 years old, and then when he came to school, so 100 level, of course, brilliant students. He came in with about 290 in his JAMB, and then like 6 A's in his WAEC. So when he was coming in, he was coming like a star student, 1% of 1% of 1%. So he got admitted. First year, he smashed it all through. The problem started coming up in second year, and in his own words, my problem was the do it alone syndrome. And John was copying his notes, going to his classes, reading his textbook, forming his notes by himself. And what he was essentially reinventing the wheel all over again. He was not asking for help from seniors, not asking for notes from his classmates. He was hardworking, and he was working at 100% efficiency of his capacity, according to him. But there was so much work to be done. He was not taking help from anybody. He was doing it alone because he trusts himself so much. And I think that I should just say this: a lot of medical students, their strongest forte is their mind. Their forte is usually their mind, their high IQ. So they pride themselves in their ability to read a lot, understand a lot, and integrate a lot of information. And it is largely true. By all means, it is true. But here was John, and then here was a ton of academic work and so little time. Not knowing that a lot of people have simplified things a lot for him in terms of notes, in terms of outlines, and then he was reinventing the wheel all over again. It was not long when the in-courses started coming, then he started noticing he was not meeting up. He was not performing as much as he was working. And then not long after that, he frankly started failing. And when the EOPs, the end of posting, started coming, he started seeing serious lapses in his work. And that is when he realized there was a problem. So do it alone syndrome is a big mistake, as we can see from John's experience. As I said, these are real people, and I'm just changing their first names just for anonymity. Now, secondly, I'll be telling you about Mike. Mike was also a star student, but the background Mike gave me was, he did well in his O level. The first JAMB, he did so well, but he was not given admission, and then he stayed at home for the first year. And the second year, he read harder, did better in his JAMB exam, and then all to no avail. He also did not get the admission the second year. So the third year, he went back to the books, he drilled down, studied harder with his parents' help, everybody. In the long run, he did not make it the third year. So when the fourth year came, he was already a pro at JAMB. He scored 290 as usual, and then luckily this time he got admission, and he was so excited, so pumped up. And then it was a prestigious university in Nigeria. Mike was so excited. So he got in first year. Of course, first year usually walk over for a lot of students, and then he smashed it. But the second year came, and then he was now in the medical school, no longer with the general science students. He was now in the medical school, and that is when, as in his words, cold fear gripped him. Cold fear because he was afraid. Now he knew that his criteria was more stringent. The possibility of repeating was strong. The possibility of losing his admission was strong. So now that he was being faced with this reality, instead of meeting the excitement, fear gripped him. And with that fear was now paralysis. He could not read anymore. Normal Mike that would read all over and do everything and carry a lot of work and move along so fast, he began to be afraid. He began to recede into himself. He became private. He said he spent a lot of nights crying because he was afraid that he would make a mistake, and after making that mistake he might lose his admission. And then the fear of failure kept him trapped for so long. See, this video is not meant to motivate you per se. It's just meant to expose you to the possibilities and the mindset that you should not have if you are in medical school. You are going to make mistakes, there's no doubt about that, but don't make these ones. All right. So Mike was paralyzed with fear for so long, and according to him, he started failing. He started actually failing, and then that reinforced his fear more for the doom that was inevitable to come. Fortunately, he met a senior, and then after a long period of discussion and opening up, and then he dealt with his fear eventually. But cold fear can be a serious hindrance in medical school. Now, the third story I'm going to be sharing will be that of a lady this time. Let's call her Martha. Martha schooled in the Middle Belt in Nigeria. She was a staff student, so an excellent student. And when she came into the first year, it was smooth for her. And then in the second year, being so outstanding in class, according to her, she was among the top 5 in class, coming to 200 level. And with that excitement and that, growing self-confidence, when the direct entry students come in, as in most medical schools, some students are admitted, those who have degrees, BScs before, most times they're admitted directly into 200 level. And because she was so confident and doing so well, she was matched to, help a direct entry student to find his feet. And Martha was on the young side, but the new student, let's call him Jake, for example. Let's just call him Jake. So Jake came in as direct entry, and Martha was supposed to help Jake. And everything went smoothly. At first, Jake was not performing well academically, but with Martha's help, Jake started, he picked up in his academics, and he was going, and everything was going smooth until feelings started developing between them. And the feelings was from Jake. Somewhere he misread the signal, and then he thought all that charity was not innocent. And so he felt he started having feelings, in summary. Now, I bring this story up because it is a common phenomenon in a lot of places, in a lot of schools, and many feelings have developed from tutorials, especially between people of opposite sex when it comes to tutorials, because you are going to know a lot of you are going to know a lot with that individual. You're going to share a lot of time, and it's not uncommon for feelings to begin to develop between those kind of people. And love is a good thing on a general note. However, when it is coming in this kind of situation where one party is not ready, it becomes a problem. And it became a big problem to Martha, because the problem began to evolve. She stopped doing well in class. She started avoiding Jake, and then she began to really drop. And then for a full year in 300 level, she dropped from top 5, and then she got lost in the class, and then she just was surviving through her third year, avoiding, and then it took a great deal of personal effort to be able to get her feet back when she was in her fourth year. And you know what fourth year, for those of you who don't know, but fourth year is a significant point in medical school. And then she had to gain her grounds again in her fourth year. When you're going into love, go in and know what you're going in for. But it should not take you by surprise, and it should not take you unawares in terms of from tutorials. Not because that cannot be a source of love, but be aware of what is happening, and in all cases, know where your academics, know where you stand with your academics at all times. Of course, I'm not against love, but I want you to know that this is a mistake and it has recorded so many times. Just be aware of it. Do whatever you want with this information. The next story we're going to be sharing is about Raf. Let's call him Raf for the sake of this discussion. So Raf got into 200 level, of course, a star student, as most of us are. And then when the lecture started, you know, in class, in med school, we divide the seats accordingly. They are the rare admirers who sit always perpetually at the back, and then there are the scholars, the erudites who sit in the front, who are always responding to every question and all. And well, Raf was dazed into he lost his confidence because he was dazed repeatedly. If you are not familiar with the term dazing, but dazing is when you begin to hear your classmates saying information that you think is above your pay grade and you have no idea of what it is. So in this particular anatomy class, Raf was a rare admirer sitting at the back, and then in his very presence, a student not only answered questions on brachial plexus, but was given the opportunity to go to the board, and he demonstrated the brachial plexus on the board. And sitting at the back, Raf took it personal, and he took it so personal that he got scared. That how can he be in the same class with someone who already knows what is going to happen in the class? Let me just say this, still on the issue of pride, a lot of medical students come out, ranting their stuff and all, and it can either stem from either something freshly read, or they're just trying to impress, or that is the only thing they know. But there is someone at the back who was dazed and then got scared. And you are going to hear a lot of this in the medical school. There is no doubt about this. And and it's going to be something very frequent. But he was taking it personal, and he took it to the extreme, and that dropped his confidence. Something else happening entirely somewhere else, and then somebody else getting affected negatively. And as when the incourses started coming, he started failing. He started failing because he lost confidence in himself for not knowing what that guy knew. And comparison became the thief of his joy. And he failed 2 in-courses, the first and in anatomy, and then he spilled into physiology, and subsequently like that. When he got himself back, in his words, he said he did not fail any other exam again. The reason why, because he knew that it was not by someone demonstrating something on the board. He just had to face himself and face his business, and then things started picking up all right. The last story I'm going to share is about Mark. Let's call him Mark. Mark studied medicine in the Better by Far University of Ilorin. He was a brilliant chap. When interacting, when he was sharing his story with me, I could not help laughing and just relating with some of the things he was saying. But Mark was in 200 level. He had already gotten his feet. He knew what worked and what didn't work. He was already getting confident. He knew how to go about reading, how to go about everything. So he was already ready. And when it was time for the promotion exam, what they call the comprehensive exam, he was prepared. He was reading hard and everything. And he was reading very hard. In his own words, I had already known the syllabus. In his words, I have known the syllabus. I had read my notes back to back. I could draw my pathways from front to back and from back to front. I mean, this is some pretty confident statement that he will make, and he was being sincere here. So when the exam came, he got too cocky, and in one of the exams, in the anatomy exams, he went in alone with, in his own words, I did not see any need for a pencil or an eraser or a sharpener, so I just went in with my black biro. So when he got into the exam hall, like many exams and the strategy many medical students use, he started from number 1 up till number 9. Then he discovered that he had no biro, he had no pencil and no eraser, he just had a pen, meaning he did not plan to make any mistake in the exam. That is some really, really confident, almost arrogant move to make in the exam. Anyway, there in the exam hall, he in number 9 started having difficulty, so he flipped the question paper to the back and started from number 60 backwards, and it was making sense. And then when he got to number 22, he discovered that at number 20 there was a change in instruction. There were 60 questions, what they call STEM questions, and he had answered from 60 all the way to 20, only to discover that he had been answering all the other 40 questions with the wrong instruction. And at that point, the examiner said 10 minutes to go. And at that point, his pride and his folly became so evident in his eyes. The point here is, no matter how confident you get, no matter how vast your knowledge of a particular subject is, you need to maintain one layer of humility in your academics and in your life generally. The fact that he made that mistake did not change his knowledge of anatomy. He still knew anatomy, but he made a very big mistake, and it was because he was overconfident. At that point in the exam hall, he had to begin to cancel. And don't forget, he brought a biro. He had to begin to cancel and re-answer the questions again, all over again. So these are the 5 top, stories I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode. Maybe there will be subsequent episode. And if you enjoyed it and if you learned anything here, and maybe you are a medical student as well, you can share my email will be down here. You can share your story so that other people can learn from and not repeat these mistakes again. Thank you guys for watching. I'm still Dr. Piro, and I'll see you in the next episode.